August 20th, 1994, in Honolulu, Hawaii. A circus performance is about to begin. Families fill the arena. Children hold cotton candy. The lights dim. And then an elephant named Tyke does something no one expected. She stops performing. She turns on her trainer. And she runs. For 30 minutes, Tyke rampaged through the streets of Honolulu, crushing cars, charging through traffic, desperate for freedom. Police fired 86 bullets into her body before she finally collapsed. This is the story of an elephant who was beaten, chained, and broken, until the day she decided she'd had enough. And what happened next changed circus history forever. Tyke was born in Mozambique, Africa, sometime in the early 1970s. She should have grown up surrounded by her family, walking beside her mother, learning from the older elephants, and roaming the open land like she was meant to. But she never got that chance. When she was just a baby, at around 2 or 3 years old, people came into the wild and took her away. She was pulled from her mother, forced into a crate, and shipped across the ocean. Back then, this was common. For many years, circuses around the world captured baby elephants from Africa and Asia to use in their shows. The way they did it was cruel. Mothers were often killed trying to protect their calves. The babies were taken, locked in boxes, and sent overseas to be sold to whoever paid the most. Tyke ended up with Circus International, a traveling circus that toured across the United States and Hawaii, and that's where her training began. Elephant training in circuses isn't gentle. It's not based on trust or positive reinforcement. It's based on fear. Trainers use a tool called a bull hook, a metal rod with a sharp hook on the end. It's used to jab, strike, and control elephants by inflicting pain on sensitive areas like behind the ears, around the eyes, on the feet, and even inside the mouth. The goal is to break the elephant's spirit, to make them so afraid of the pain that they obey every command without question. Tyke was subjected to this for years. She was chained for hours, beaten when she didn't perform correctly, isolated from other elephants, and slowly she began to break. But Tyke didn't break the way they wanted her to. She fought back. In 1993, a year before the Honolulu incident, Tyke was performing at a circus in Altoona, Pennsylvania. During the show, she suddenly bolted. She ran out of the arena, trampling barriers, and escaped into the streets. It took handlers hours to recapture her. The circus tried to calm people down. They said it was just an accident, a small mistake. But it wasn't. It was a warning. A few months later, Tyke attacked her trainer during another show in North Dakota. She knocked him down and had to be stopped by the other handlers. Again, the circus brushed it off. They said she was just having a bad day. But people who understood elephants knew that wasn't true. Elephants don't just have bad days. When they start lashing out, it means they've been pushed too far. It means they're hurting inside. Tyke had been hurting for years, but the circus didn't care. They didn't stop using her. They didn't send her to a safe place or let her rest. They kept forcing her to perform because she made them money. And on August 20th, 1994, Tyke finally couldn't take it anymore. It was August 20th, 1994, the Neil S. Bladel Center in Honolulu was packed. Families filled the seats. Kids waved their glow sticks, laughing, waiting for the show to start. Then, Tyke entered the arena. Her trainer, Alan Campbell, was on her back, and another man named Dallas Beckwith walked beside her. The music started. Tyke was supposed to do tricks, stand up on two legs, spin in circles, and bow to the crowd. But this time, something felt wrong. Tyke stopped. She didn't move, and then suddenly, she turned. In an instant, she grabbed Dallas with her trunk, threw him down, and began to attack. She kicked and stomped on him while people screamed. Alan tried to stop her, but Tyke turned on him too. She threw him off her back, pinned him to the ground, and gored him with her tusks. The crowd panicked. People ran for the exits. There was shouting, crying, chaos everywhere. Then Tyke did something no one expected. She ran. She crashed through the arena doors and burst out into the streets of Honolulu. For the next 30 minutes, Tyke ran through the city, terrified and confused. She crushed cars, charged down roads, and people scattered in fear. Witnesses said she wasn't attacking people. She was running from them and just trying to escape. Police surrounded her. They opened fire. Tyke was shot 86 times. She stumbled, she fell, and she died on the pavement, surrounded by police, far from home, far from her herd, far from any place she'd ever known as safe. Alan Campbell, her trainer, died from his injuries. Dallas Beckwith survived, but was critically injured, and the world watched in horror. Tyke's death made international headlines. Video footage of her rampage was broadcast on news stations around the world. People saw the fear in her eyes, the desperation, the trauma, and they started asking questions. Why was an elephant with a history of aggression still performing? Why was she beaten and chained? Why are wild animals in circuses at all? Investigations revealed the truth. Tyke had been abused for years. Witnesses came forward describing how trainers beat her with bullhooks, chained her for hours, and deprived her of food and water as punishment. One former circus worker said, "She was terrified all the time." You could see it in her eyes. Animal rights organizations, including PETA and the Humane Society, used Tyke's story to push for change. They argued that elephants are intelligent, emotional, social animals. They live in complex family structures. They mourn their dead. They remember trauma, and forcing them to perform in circuses causes severe psychological damage. Studies have shown that captive elephants exhibit signs of PTSD, repetitive swaying, aggression, depression. Tyke wasn't a rogue elephant. She was a traumatized animal who had been pushed beyond her limit, and her death became a turning point. In the years following Tyke's death, public opinion shifted. Cities began banning wild animal acts. Circuses faced boycotts. Attendance dropped. In 2017, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, the largest circus in the United States, shut down after 146 years. They cited declining ticket sales and changing public attitudes toward animal welfare. Tyke's story played a role in that. Today, Tyke is remembered not as a dangerous animal, but as a victim. A documentary called Tyke Elephant Outlaw was released in 2015, telling her full story. It featured interviews with witnesses, trainers, and animal rights activists. It showed the abuse she endured, the warnings that were ignored, the system that failed her, and it asked a question that still resonates today. How many more animals are suffering in silence? Because Tyke wasn't alone. There are still circuses around the world that use elephants, lions, tigers, and other wild animals. Many of them are subjected to the same training methods Tyke endured. But change is happening. Countries like Bolivia, Greece, and the Netherlands have banned wild animals in circuses. In the United States, dozens of cities and states have passed similar laws. Sanctuaries have been established where retired circus elephants can live out their lives in peace. Places like the Elephant Sanctuary in Tennessee and PAWS in California provide hectares of land, social interaction, and freedom. These elephants will never fully recover from their trauma, but they're no longer chained, no longer beaten, no longer forced to perform, and that's because of elephants like Tyke. Her death was a tragedy, but it wasn't meaningless. It exposed the cruelty of the circus industry, it sparked a movement, it changed laws, and it reminded us that wild animals are not ours to exploit. So here's what I learned from Tyke's story. Freedom isn't something you can take away without consequences. Tyke spent her entire life in chains. She was beaten, broken, and forced to perform. But even after years of abuse, she never stopped fighting. And on that day in Honolulu, she tasted freedom. For 30 minutes, she ran. She was wild again. It cost her everything, but she ran anyway. Tyke's story is a reminder that some spirits can't be broken, that trauma leaves scars, and that we have a responsibility to protect the animals we share this planet with. If this story moved you, subscribe, because there are more stories like this, stories that need to be told, and we're just getting started.